Okay, today's Q&A is about waiting 6 hours, and two parts of the question. The first is it true that sometimes a person has to wait 6 hours to eat meat after they ate cheese? And the second half of the question is that do you have to wait 6 hours to eat milchigs if you ate some spaghetti that was cooked in a fleishik pot? Okay, so let's go to the first question first. Generally, if a person eats dairy, they can eat meat right away as long as they meet four conditions. And that is, the first is they cannot eat the meat and the dairy at the same meal. And then also between the meat and the dairy, they need to eat something parav, drink something parav, and check or wash their hands to make sure there was nothing milchigs left on them. Of those four things, if an hour has passed since the person ate the dairy, they could skip the last three: the eating, drinking, and checking their hands. But they still cannot eat them at the same meal. So if the meal stretches for a long time, and at 9 o'clock I eat dairy, then at 10:15 I cannot eat meat at that same meal. Okay, now an exception to this whole rule is if you eat certain cheeses that have aged for more than 6 months, it leaves such a strong taste in your mouth that you have to wait 6 hours before eating meat. Cheeses that are aged would say so on the label. They would also tell you how long it's aged for. So some of the common ones that are aged are Parmesan, Asiago, Romano, and aged cheddar cheese. So if you see the label says it was aged for more than 6 months, and that's a cheese that if you eat it, you need to wait 6 hours before you eat meat afterwards. Now, there's different opinions about what to do. What happens if one of these cheeses that I just mentioned, these hard cheeses, if it got melted or something like that. So the CRC's position is that if it's whole, if you eat the cheese whole, or you just shredded or grated it, then you have to wait 6 hours. If you eat it as is or mix into another food, like in a Caesar salad, you sprinkle in Parmesan cheese, you need to wait 6 hours. But if the cheese was cooked or melted, and it's still in a liquid or a semi-liquid form, like as if you put it into a lasagna or an eggplant Parmesan, then you don't have to wait 6 hours if you eat that food. You could eat meat afterwards as long as you met those four conditions I mentioned before. Now to move to the other part of the question, which was about waiting 6 hours if you eat something parv that was cooked in a fleishik pot. So if there was no meat in the pot when you cooked the spaghetti, you don't have to wait 6 hours. And the truth is, even if there was a little bit of meat left in the pot, you also wouldn't have to make it. Like, for example, you empty out your chicken soup out of a pot, and then you didn't clean the pot very well, and you cook spaghetti right afterwards, whatever, if you think that's acceptable, you choose spaghetti right afterwards, you don't have to wait 6 hours if you eat that spaghetti, even though there was a little bit of chicken or meat left in the pot. Now, but that's all true if basically there was no meat or chicken in the pot. But if there was, then you have to wait 6 hours, even if you only ate the spaghetti, even if you didn't eat any of the meat. So a common example of that is a person eats a potato from a fleishik challenge. So he can't eat milk for 6 hours afterwards. Even though all he ate was potato, he didn't touch any of the meat that was in there, since it was all being cooked with actual pieces of meat or chicken inside of it. You have to wait 6 hours, even though you only ate. Okay, this same exception is true also if it's not only meat, but even if it's animal fat or oil from an animal. And an example of that is if you go to a fleishik restaurant, then you have French fries. As a rule, that same fryer is used for French fries and for chicken, to fry chicken. So there's so much chicken fat mixed into that deep fryer, into the oil there, that it's treated as if the fries were cooked in chicken fat, and therefore you would not be able to eat dairy for 6 hours after you eat those.